Hello everybody, and on today's elevator parts video, we're taking a detailed look and wiring of Schindler long bar MT. Let's go ahead and get started. So Schindler long bar MT. What exactly does long bar MT mean? Now in front of you, you see two buttons that look pretty much identical, only they're a little bit different. You may recognize this button from a video that I've done previously where I showed you how to wire up Schindler MT. But what's with this long bar MT? And well, you've probably guessed it. If you look here, this bar here is a little bit longer than this one. Now, that's not really an official term, that's just, kind of a descriptive name for it, long bar, it's a longer bar, but it is a different style of button. And today we're going to focus mainly on this button, but we're going to use this button as a reference so we can look at the differences between the two buttons, both on the front and on the back. So if you take a close look at just the buttons, we're not focused on the plate, just the buttons alone, you'll notice a few very obvious differences. The first being, well, the light bar. That's very obvious, that's why it's called long bar. If you look at the two lengths of the light bars, you'll notice that this one's a little bit smaller than this one. And you'll also notice that the kind of texture of the light bar is a little bit different as well. This one's more of a solid white color, and this one's more of like a clear color. Now the next thing are the arrows. Now you'll notice that the arrow on the long bar is kind of a shiny arrow. So you can actually see the reflection as I move my finger around, where over here, it's not reflective and you don't actually see my finger at all. Now another difference that you may not have caught is the way it's mounted. So if you look closely at the newer one, you'll notice you see it kind of just hangs over the top, where on the long bar, you can see it's actually pushed through the panel. So you can see to take this button out, you have to push it back, where to take this one out, you have to pull it towards you. So turning it to the back, on first glance, you'll see that the circuit boards look fairly similar, but they are, again, drastically different. The one here on the left is the long bar, and the one here on the right is the newer one. So just by taking a quick glance, you can probably already tell which button is better made, and that'd be this left one. And the reason why you can see that, you have studs here that the button is bolted down with, and you have these big, kind of bulky plastic pieces with the circuit board attached all the way to it. Then over here on this side, you'll see, well, it's just this little plastic piece holding it in, and it's just a little clip that holds everything on. So durability wise, this one is better. Now for workability, this one's better, because if you have a bad board, you just pop off the old one and pop on a new one, where this one you have to take the whole thing apart. So let's go ahead and pull both of these buttons off and we'll take a close look at each one. So here we have both styles of buttons pulled out of the panel. And another thing I forgot to mention about the differences are the actual way the buttons press. So listen very carefully. So they sound very similar, but this one is more of a firm, kind of solid on-off click. And this is more of a lighter, like less solid kind of click. Now it's hard to explain the feel of a button, but you can definitely hear the different sound that they make. So you can see that these are drastically different on the back side. So your newer one is very minimal plastic, only enough just for the button. And the older one has all the excess plastic and the nice housing. The circuit boards are totally different as well. The older one is a lot bigger than the newer one. And they have the exact same port. You see here 5 wires, and obviously this one mounts to a stud and this one mounts with this thin piece of plastic. So if the plastic breaks, the button falls out. So now let's take a closer look at the two circuit boards. So here we have the inside of the two circuit boards. Now your left one is your long bar and your right one is your newer. So you can see that they have the fairly much the same components. You've got your switch, you've got 2 transistors, and you've got 2 resistors. And obviously you have your lights. Now this one has 3 lights, and this one has 4 lights. So here's the switch for this one. You can hear how it presses. And then here's the switch for this one, which kind of has this like metal paddle, which is why it's easier to press, because you have to push it further down to make it activate. And to finish our little comparison, the button you can see is pretty much the exact same, except for some reason this one has some electrical tape on it, and this one doesn't. And up there you can see the light bar, and the light bar is just kind of stuck in there. And the light bar on this one is actually clipped in place. You can see how it's clipped in there. So now that you know the difference between the two, let's go back to focusing on the point of the video, the long bar. Let's show you how to wire it up. So as for wiring these buttons, you'll see here we have our 5-port connector, and conveniently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're labeled. So what each one of these does, you have pin number 1, this is the normally open port of your switch. 2 is the negative for your lights. 3 is the positive for your lights, 4 is your common for the switch, and 5 is your normally closed for the switch. Now, you may have noticed at the beginning of the video, this actually was wired up already. So they had the positive going into 3, and then you had your jumper from 2 to 1. So that's from your negative of the light to the normally open. And then the negative of the battery is on port 4, which is the common of the switch. And that's exactly how we're going to do it. Now, if you would like to see more information about these buttons and some schematics and things like that, head over to my website. The link is down in the description. Now, another kind of interesting thing about this button, you'll notice that this side is up a little bit higher, just a tiny bit. And if we lay the circuit board down, well, there's this gap here. There's actually this little O-ring, which sits right in there. I'm not quite sure what the purpose of this is for, but it's there. And then obviously there's the 3 screws that hold the circuit board down. Okay, so as for the wiring, we know what each port does. I went ahead and removed the existing wiring, and they had some fat wires on here. I mean, this is insane for just a call station. I've never seen this thick of wire on a call station before. But I went ahead and removed that. And another thing I should probably point is I don't know what the official voltage rating of these buttons are, or at least of the circuit board. However, I have found that 9 volts works perfectly. The buttons light up nice and bright and they don't blow up. So that's good enough for me. So for this project, we'll be using a 9-volt battery. We're also gonna be using some of the existing wires they have. These are a little bit smaller. And then a couple of small jumper wires so we can connect all these together. Again, wiring schematics are on my website for both long bar and the newer Schindler MT. So we're gonna start off with our positives. Now that's gonna be in port number 3. So we'll insert this one into here. We're also gonna bring our jumper in here because we need to bring our positive up to our other button as well. Then we're gonna place the negative into the common port. So that'll be port number 4. And again, since we have another button, we need to jump our negative up to the other button as well. And then we need to connect terminals 1 and 2 together so that we can connect our normally open part of our switch to the negative of our light. There's the first button done. Now for the second button, we're going to repeat the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and put our jumper into pins 1 and 2. And now we have our positive and our negative from here. So our positive is going to go into number 3, and our negative is going to go into number 4. And if you had any additional buttons, you would bring another jumper. So just like these, you would bring another set up to the next button, and into the next button, into the next button, into the next button, until you're done. And you would also connect the little jumper wire here so that it all works as you want it to. And that's all there is to wiring this thing. And just clipping a battery to it and giving the button press. Look at that, it lights up nice and bright, even with the bright light on. If we turn the light off, you can really see it. And you see here, it looks very nice. So that was a little wiring guide and a little comparison between the 2 types of Schindler MT. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it interesting. Again, if you'd like to see all my resources for Schindler MT, go to my website, which is linked down below in the description. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something fun from it, and we'll see you on the next project.